Okay. Right, good evening, everybody. So I'm just sorting out my technology. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's live coaching. I'm not going to go too fast because we're going to wait for everybody to come in. We want everybody present. We want everybody ready to receive some new insight. So it is an absolute pleasure to be here with you all. I won't say good evening to everybody because, well, literally will take up my whole life by the looks of things. But it is fantastic. It's just great to know I'm in a room with people that really want to be here. I'm assuming that no one's been forced or paid. So it is fantastic to see you all. Come in, take a seat, rest. I know this has been a hard challenge. I'm very well aware of what Sally's challenges are like. I've been on the retreats many times. So I'm very aware of what it can be like, but I also know the rewards that we get from it. So yeah, come in and have this time be about rest, guys. So we're going to spend just a couple of minutes just relaxing and unwinding. I want everybody to sit down or to lay down. We need to really just unwind. Give yourself full permission in this next 30, 40 minutes, however long it is, to just be with yourself, to listen to what's being said and have it be something that you really listen to. Something that I encourage my clients to do is when they come into a session with me is to leave anything they believe about themselves at the door, because we want this space to be about creating something new. It's creation. So I encourage you to do the same. Bearded questioning one. Hello, Anne. Hey, I get called a lot worse, very frequently. Often by my clients, funnily enough. I'm not sure why. Cool. Okay, keep coming in, guys. We're just going to wait. I promise. Normally, because I do lives in the tribe every week on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. Normally, I would just get straight on with it. But because this is such a large group, and sometimes when you have a larger group, it can just take Facebook a little bit of time to update. Just going to give everybody a chance to come in. Okay, so just another minute. So, guys, I'm going to just before we get into the juice of this, I just want to introduce this session. It's really important that we create some agreements between us, that we have some ground rules, that we understand what this session is, that it's not just something to come in and listen to and think, oh, that was interesting, and then leave it there. This is an opportunity for transformation in your life. And that is insight, action, or insight, output. If we're willing to put into action what we hear, we will experience transformation in our lives, and it is going to feel challenging. So the first thing I want to do is just from my heart to your heart to say, I want to acknowledge each and every single one of you for showing up, for being in the challenge, for being here, for putting yourself first, for putting a stake in the ground for what you want. We talk about self-love. This is something I talk to my clients about, and they have an idea of what self-love might be, but it's often not really what self-love is. And so for me, what I want to encourage you guys to think about is self-love is allowing yourself to have, be, and do what it is that wants to be, have been, and done. If you've got an idea in mind of what you want your goal is, put a stake in the ground for that. And I really want to acknowledge each and every one of you for showing up and doing that. Even the ones that haven't got to where they think they were going to get to, doesn't matter. Change is hard. The thing about self-love, before we go too much into it, then just for the introduction and we're going to get started, the thing about self-love is imagine yourself as a cup. And we want to be overflowing that cup. We want that cup to be overflowing. And we're taught the opposite. I've got my cup half full and I need things and other people to fill it up. Somebody posted in the group about this earlier. Self-love is about filling up our own cup, living our truth and what we want. Our cup overflows, and then we're right to go out into the world and help others fill up theirs. But we have to make a stand for ourselves first and what you want. And it's messy and it's uncomfortable. And I know that every one of you is experiencing that this week, right? It's hard. It is hard. So I want to acknowledge you for that. So the ground rules, guys, if anybody has questions in this live, like I really do welcome questions, but there's going to be hundreds of people watching this, right? So if you have a question for me, I will come back to you, but you must tag me, all right? You must tag me into the question, because otherwise I might not see it, right? Facebook doesn't always give me all of the messages. So if you have questions, let me know. And I encourage you to engage. Like this group, this live is an opportunity for you to make a stand for yourself and claim your space. Claim yourself and your space in this world and what you want. And then lastly, set your intention for this live. How are you going to listen? How are you going to take this knowledge and go and use it? How are you going to live from now on? We're free to make that intention at any time. So what is it going to be? Are we going to continue doing what we've done before, which is not, it's okay. If you're not ready, you don't feel like you want to push yourself through change yet, that's okay, no judgment. But if you really truly feel ready, put a stake in the ground for that. Set your intention. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes, because I couldn't possibly remember all of this, right? So first thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to very briefly, for those, and I'm doing this for a reason. Now, it's very uncomfortable for me, if I'm honest, to talk about me. It's very uncomfortable for me. And I was called out on this recently when I shared something with my coach, and she said, Sam, for the people in your world, how many people know this? And I said, not many. And she said, this might really serve people. So the next time you do a talk anywhere, or you talk in a group, will you share this story? Can you commit to that for me? And I said, all right, I'll do it. And unfortunately, guys, or fortunately, you guys are going to get it. But I think there might be something in this. It feels like there might be something in this story for you guys to hear and to have. Right, so let me know. So obviously I'm Sam, I'm 37. Even though I don't look it, I've got Zoom's look young filter turned on. So of course, you turn this off, I look, like 90. But I am a married man, and I have my little son, Albert. I am a full-time and professional coach. I do this full-time. It is my sole job. It's what I love. It's what I'm passionate about. It is what I'm on this planet for, transformation, and to love people enough so that they can love themselves. Now, what do I want to say? I've been in the tribe now for 3 years. We've known Sally for 4, and I do a live in there every week, and we talk about transformation. We do all kinds of videos, all kinds of stuff. They're normally a lot shorter, because when you have them every week, you want snippets, you don't want loads of stuff. The story of how I got into coaching is what I promised that I'd share, so I'm going to do that. All right. So going back about 6 years ago now, I was a full-time personal trainer before this, until I got into transformational coaching and life coaching. And I had a diagnosis of male infertility, and at the same time made redundant from my job. And I'm going straight in here, just so we can just skip all the other stuff, get straight to the meat. And I was brought up in a beautiful home, very lovingly, but there was some ego to it. And for me, what that meant was, a man is a man. A man is a man. No piercings, no tattoos. We're men's men. We don't cry, right? Or at least that's the message that I heard. So when I had this diagnosis, it sent me into a place of, I'm not enough. It was dark. It was deep. It was sad. It completely broke me, if I'm honest. It sent me into depression, anxiety, and panic. And I lived like that for at least 18 months, just getting by, trying to keep things afloat with the business and bills and all the rest of it. And it just took me to a very dark place. Now, this is where it gets good, because I wouldn't change a thing. I had some therapy, which helped, made me feel better. It brought back some idea of I'm feeling better. And it wasn't until I had a coach, it wasn't until someone really challenged me. They cared about me enough not to care about my feelings. And they said, Sam, what if what you're seeing isn't true? Because for me, what the story in my head, and here's where I want to point you guys to, if you have stories like this, I'm not enough. I'm not a real man. You probably won't be thinking that, but I'm not a real man. I'm not good enough. My wife should leave me. What kind of man can't have children? I'm letting everybody down. The guilt, the shame. See, what I hadn't realized at the time was those thoughts were not me. They were not of me. They were not anything to do with me now. It was something I had been gifted, something I had taken on, something I had learned. And until somebody said, Sam, what if those thoughts aren't true? Whose are they? Who do they belong to? That this cloud lifted. I got an opportunity to see that, wow, there is in my experience a belief and a feeling and a thought and a story. But there is space to have that not be true. I get to choose now how I create myself and therefore the rest of my life. I went through a phase of trying to pretend that I was enough, trying to have loads of money and cars and a house. And I portrayed this image that I was this successful person to try and compensate for this belief. And I destroyed myself in the process. And it wasn't until I saw that this wasn't true that my life began to change. I started to see the love in where I am right now. And I get to choose and create my life from that place. And that's what got me into coaching. It's what got me into wanting to help other people transform their lives, because believe me, it's possible. It's wholly possible. So I want to share that with you because I want you to know that I get it. I want you to know that I get where you're at. And I want you to know that I get and I acknowledge you for where you're at. But it was that experience that took me from being a victim in my life, a victim of my own story or the story that was given to me, to the owner of my life, where I got to say, hey, I recognize this. I acknowledge it. I can love it. I can see it. I can hold it but not hang on to it. And I can live my life and choose how I live it. And do you know what? The cool thing is, we did end up having a kid. They found in me just about a dozen sperm. And from that, we created my little son, Albert, through lots of surgery. But I wanted to leave it sounds a bit wrong now saying it a happy ending, because it does actually sound quite dodgy, but it was a happy ending. So there we go. So guys, we're going to get onto goals. We're going to talk very briefly about what goals are and how we can get goals to work for us. Because for most of us, in my experience as a coach, our goals are working against us. So we're going to talk about 3 things to do with goals that I want you to take away and apply in your life. And then we're going to move on to habits and why we kind of get that a little bit wrong too, because we can't break habits, we make habits. I'm going to talk a bit about that too. There's a lot to go into, so if there's too much, then just come back and rewatch it. It's totally fine. So the first thing to remember, guys, is that we choose, when we create a goal, we choose 1 or 2 goals. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before, and if you've heard it, listen again, because chances are you need to hear it if you're here. So we choose 1 of 2 goals. It's either a toxic goal or it's an inspired goal. A toxic goal comes, and this is where people go, oh my God, I've got toxic goals. And it's okay, guys. I don't want you to go and start judging the shit out of yourselves because you realize you've got a toxic goal. Perfectly okay. In fact, great, because now you see it. A toxic goal would look like, I look at myself in the mirror on a photo and I think, oh my God, I look like shit. Look how fat I am. I'm disgusting. This is what other people might see. I'm using this language deliberately because it's language I hear from my clients. And now I'm setting a goal to move past that, to change that. Sounds normal, right? But what we've done is we've created a goal based on a judgment, based on pain, based on fear, based on I'm not enough. Now that comes with an awful intense feeling often. What can happen is you go throughout your week, present, I'm doing my goal, I'm focused, this is working. You get to a Friday night, you come home from work and that feeling isn't present, or it's Saturday and that feeling isn't present because you're relaxed, you're at home, you're chilling, you're happy. The goal isn't, you're not aware of the goal anymore because the goal is attached to that feeling. So it's not there, therefore the goal's not important. We don't want to be doing that. We want to be aware of what toxic goals we're setting. A toxic goal is set from a place to get to because I'm not enough. I'm not enough and I'll be enough then. That's toxic. What we want to be looking at is an inspired goal, which is something that there's a difference between a need and a desire, right? When you think about that, there's a difference between a need and a desire. And what we want to be thinking about is what we really, truly desire. Yes, it might be some weight loss. Cool, go for it. But think about what the desire behind that is. Do I want to be free in my own skin? Do I want to be free in my own body? Do I want to be able to love myself? You may not have to lose weight for that, but you might too. That might be part of it. It's a desire. An inspired goal is something that lifts you up. It's something that you can commit to even when motivation isn't present. It's something that's so meaningful to you, it will be more important than your own bullshit, your own story, your own I'm not good enough when they arise. An inspired goal is something we can be truly committed to. And don't get me wrong, this isn't going to be without its bumps in the road. It's not going to be without its times that it's just really, really, really hard. That's going to happen. That's normal, natural part of change. It's necessary to go through that messiness and that pain when we're changing. But the commitment will still be there if we're willing to live into it, if we're willing to show up to it. There's something deeper in that than there is around a feeling. Yes, I'm committed. Yes, I can do this. I want this and I'm going to do it. Just going to bring you guys back up. I think they're losing me again. So that's the first one. Think about your goals, right? Are you setting a toxic goal because you think you're not enough? Or are you setting an inspired goal because it's something you truly, deeply desire? There's a real yes, right? That's the difference. The next one is ironically simple, is to keep it really, really simple. Once we've got our goal, guys, all you need, and I'm going to show you a way of doing this in a minute, all you need is one actionable step. One. I don't care if I'm working with a multi-millionaire. I don't care if I'm working with somebody who's trying to create a multi-billion-pound business. I don't give a shit if I'm working with somebody looking to lose 2 pounds. One actionable step is all we can ever do. And that is all we need to be focused on at any given time. We can only step forward one step from where we are. We can only make that one step from where we are. One. Pick one simple thing. And it needs to be, like I said, it's something that we can commit to, because guys, motivation won't stick. Motivation doesn't hang around. It's not our best friend. It's a fun time Friday. It'll come, we'll have great times, it'll be fun, it'll be a blast, and it'll leave us with a savage hangover. But it's our job to continue to be committed, otherwise known as self-love. Right. The other one, the third one, is talk about backpedaling your goals. Now, this is particularly important because what we tend to do when we set a goal is we look at all of the things we have to do, and then we try and do all of them. I don't know if that sounds like you guys. Say yes in the comments. Yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. If you tend to say, right, I'm going to do it this time. I've got my diet sorted. I've got my water sorted. I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to get up and exercise 3 times a week. I'm going to give my husband a thing on his nose to stop him snoring so I can sleep better. We've got everything sorted, right? If that's you, say, yes, that's me. Yes, Joanne, that's you first. Nicely done. So what can happen is that we front load things, and that is not what we want to be doing when we're trying to create our goal. So what I want to encourage you guys to think about is that this is the very last time you try and achieve this goal. The intention you're going to set is this is the last time you are going to try and achieve, or you are going to achieve this goal. This is the last time you're going to do this. And it might be that you have days and weeks where it doesn't go anywhere. That's fine. You're going to keep going. You're going to pick it back up again. And that's the most important thing to remember here. So I'm just going to bring up my my iPad page. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm hoping this works. Yes, that's me. All right, cool. I'm speaking to the right audience. It's always good to know. Hopefully this comes up. Okay, so you should be able to see my whiteboard there, guys. Now, my mum, who is actually here somewhere, I believe, my #1 fan, she is here. Now, she bought me this Apple pen. I think in the hope, bless her, that my drawings would be better and they would be neater. But I think, if anything, they've actually got worse. So you're going to have to forgive me. It just is the way it is, right? So here's what I want to point you guys to, right? So this is us here. We call him in the tribe Transformational Tom. And we have our goal over here. Now, it's a bit of a running joke that I always use the goal of 2 stone in these lives. And there's always somebody who goes, that's me, that's my goal. And it's unbelievable how many people want to lose 2 stone, but it just become a bit of a running joke, right? So here's the thing, this is called backpedaling, right? And this is something that you guys can do. So we know, in order to, and again, being a personal trainer and pastor, I know how to help people lose weight, right? Here's what we need to be thinking about, right? We need to think about our stress levels, how much water we're drinking. I mean, there's more than this, but this is just an example. How many calories we're eating. We need to look at our nutrition as a whole because we need to make sure we're getting enough of it. And we need to be looking at our sleep. So for most people, what they'll do is they'll say, oh, yes, that's me's. You'll be looking at all those things and trying to front load all that. And that is going to overwhelm the crap out of you guys. Trying to create change in your life is difficult enough. It feels hard sometimes. It's challenging on our ego. Our ego will hold on for dear life. It feels deep. It feels difficult. It can, you know what I'm talking about, right? You've all been there. I'm sure you'll be there. You'll be there again. So here's a solution for you, right? We're going to backpedal. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some out each time we backpedal. All right. And you can put this, if it's helpful, you can put this into a plan. You can put it into a 6-month plan, but I'm gonna actually encourage you maybe not to do that right now. I'm gonna give you a different way of doing it. So then we know each step of the way, we're breaking down what we're doing. All right. So stress, water. So then what we're going to do is the first step, doesn't really matter. You can choose. I'm going to begin to drink more water. We have our first step. Now, here's the thing, and this might look super simple, but this is the crux of it. We never move on to the next step and include stress until we've nailed the water piece, until we've nailed it. See, if we want this to be the last time we ever do this, if we want this to be the last time we commit to losing this 2 stone, then we commit to the 1 step. And then it doesn't matter because we know once we've nailed that, it's become a habit. We've created a new habit. And it's not always, guys, again, you're going to slip up. And I'm going to keep saying that because what we don't want to do is start judging ourselves when the shit hits the fan, because that's not going to help, right? We all slip up. We all have times where it doesn't feel good, where it feels hard. That's fine, not a problem. Let's not start judging ourselves for that. But what we want to be aware of, is the next step then would be to introduce how to reduce stress in my life, right? And you can see then that we're working this way, right? So we backpedal first, and then we start going towards the goal. I've just looked up and seen how messy that is. So I don't know what my English teacher was helping me with, but it wasn't writing. So that's it. Backpedaling, guys. One thing, just number one thing, focus on one thing at a time. And what can then happen is that when that becomes a goal, you believe we'll start thinking to ourselves, oh, we'll focus on 2 things, and we're not. Because that's already a goal, we just focus on the next one thing, which is to reduce stress. And that might be to get a coach, it might be to get some therapy, it might be to relax more. It might be to practice some meditation. It might, who knows? It might be to exercise more. To be honest, it might be to reduce your sugar and caffeine, because that's super stressful on the body, right? So whatever that looks like, we only have to focus on one thing at a time, right? So that's goals. In a nutshell, I mean, guys, you've got to remember that this is years and years of coaching kind of put into a little bit. So I picked what I think will be, listening, because I have been watching, I've been listening, to pick what I think are going to be the most helpful things for you to hear tonight. So the next thing we're going to talk about, and again, guys, if you have questions, but why does that not seem enough in my head? Shelley, if you mean doing one thing at a time, then there'll be a belief, a story, or a conditioning that instead of doing something, instead of engaging with it on the level that it's been communicated at, like, oh, that's not enough. It's like, I hear and I acknowledge that there is a thought of that's not enough. And I can be forgiving of that, and I'm okay with that. But if I want this to work, what do I need to commit to? So we get to acknowledge it. We're not like, oh no, it's just a thought. We're not doing that. We're acknowledging it. We're seeing that it's something that's been given me one day. At some point, it's been given to me. It's been learned, but it's not who I am, or it doesn't have to be. Right? That's the distinction. It doesn't have to be who we are. We get to choose. That doesn't feel like enough. Cool, I hear that. Well, what would make it enough? What would make this decision about one thing more than enough? What would make it so helpful to me? And what would make it really helpful to me as a person, and I'm speaking from a personal perspective, is if I could do that one thing consistently, it's going to have an impact on every area of my life. And it sounds stupid, but just drinking enough water can have an impact on every area of my life. My body's not stressed. My body feels much better. I can move more. I have more energy. I'm happier with my family. I'm more effective as a coach. The list goes on. So habits. Here we go. Habits. Now, this is a big subject, and what I'm about to say might be controversial for some of you. So here's the thing. I want you to agree with me through the screen. Say yes or no in your head, and if it's a no, you might as well hang up. I'm really joking. But I just need you to say yes in your mind. Can we agree that if this is challenging to hear, then you will stick with it? You'll sit with that uncomfortableness or the discomfort, the unease, the ego saying, no way, no way, no way, but you'll stick with it. I need you to make that agreement with me in your mind. So here's the crux of it. Sally's on. Look, hello, Sally. Here's the crux of it, guys. Habits help you. There is no such thing as a bad habit. Every habit that you have has been created to serve you in some way. Here's the thing. When we think we've got a bad habit, right? So we think we've got bad habits. What we'll start to do is we'll start to try and get rid of them. We'll start to try and take them away. And that can make the habit even more powerful, even more strong. And I'm going to show you why. So let's not break habits. We make habits. So what happens with habits is that the subconscious mind, right? The subconscious, the ego, the autonomy of us, the automation. So I think somebody said a minute ago, you know, what do I do when it doesn't feel like enough? That's our ego. That's something we've learned. The ego is who we think we've been up and to now, but it doesn't mean who we are next, right? So our subconscious mind has created these habits to make us feel safe, to make us feel comfortable, to make us feel whole, to make us feel okay, to make us feel relaxed. That is what our habits are there for. So every habit that you have is there to serve you in some way. Now, the problem is that some habits we have aren't constructed for the goals that we're looking for. And the mistake people often make is they say, right, well, I eat chocolate before bed, so I have chocolate before bed. That's got to go, gone. Now, what then happens is the discomfort that the inner child often, or the teenager that feels insecure, it feels scared, the thoughts that you have, the stories, if you take that habit away, it's like taking a safety blanket away from a kid. They're going to be frightened. And that subconscious is going to start going crazy. until it feels so strong that you've all of a sudden just eat 5 bars of chocolate and you've got no fucking idea why. It's just happened. That subconscious is going to be way quicker and stronger than how you can respond. So what we need to try and do is change our relationship with discomfort. The more we are willing and open to being uncomfortable, to experiencing the stories, to being with them, the less that habit is going to make sense. And it doesn't mean to say that you can't do something more constructive, perhaps. So, I don't know, go for a walk or make some homemade chocolates, but just 1 or 2 rather than a whole 500 gram bar of galaxy. And the thing is that habits, how do I explain this? Habits, and Anne, I want to just say, I acknowledge you for being honest, and it's perfectly perfect to have a cry when you need to have a cry. Something is being processed, bring it in, bring it here, it's all good. So imagine it like this, right? Habits. Imagine that you go for a dog walk every day, or you go for a lovely walk in the forest every single day. And when you walk through this forest, it's a beautiful forest, it's lovely, it smells great, it's just wonderful. You walk through this forest. Now there's this path that goes right there through the middle of the forest. And you go, goes from your car to one end of the forest and back. And you're like, right, I'm going to walk this well-trodden path. That's what strong habits are like. They're like walking up and down that well-trodden path constantly. They're familiar. We know how to go. We know where we're going. We know how to get there. It just feels cool. It feels safe. It's okay, right? So that's what a strong habit will look like. And it does in the brain, in fairness. It looks like it's a neurological pathway. It's ingrained in the brain. You can't get rid of that. It's always going to be there. Now, here's the thing. One day you're walking along and you look to your right and you see this beautiful waterfall. It's stunning. The water's turquoise blue. You got to go there. No one's ever seen it. You've got to be the first to get your pictures on Instagram and TikTok and all the rest of that stuff. You've got to go there and see this waterfall. The problem is there's no path to get there, right? And this is like creating a new habit. You've got the waterfall, which is like your goal. It's like where you're trying to get to, but there's no path to it yet. So what you've got to be prepared for is to start to walk a new path. We've got to be prepared to make a new path for ourselves, and it's going to be messy. You're going to get stung, you're going to get scratched, you're going to get bitten, you're going to fall over, you're going to get dirty, messy. But every time you keep moving, you're going closer and closer to your goal. Now, every day you go for a walk, you keep trying this path, you keep trying this path, you keep trying this path, and you're not using the other one. It's still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. You can see it, you can feel it, you can remember going down there, but you're still creating this new path. You're committed to getting to that waterfall. One day you make it, and then you look back, and the path is well trodden. The path is clearer. There's an easy route from here to there. Wow, how did I get here? Through the work, through committing to getting there. And then you walk back and you realize the old path has started to overgrow. Oh, it's still there, but it's not as same as it used to be. It's overgrown. It's not so familiar. And you can walk it if you want, but it's not as interesting as this waterfall anymore. This path is becoming more familiar. And that's what happens with habits, is that the old pathway will stay there, but we don't break them, we make them. And when our mind is focused on making a new habit, we are more likely to get to that waterfall. We are so much more likely to get towards that goal. And I can't tell you how many times I have conversations with clients where they've been, this is going to sound like a brag, but I promise it isn't. It's just realistic. Somebody comes to me and they say, Sam, I've done this program, that program, I've spoken to this person, that person, and I haven't been able to break this habit. And I'm like, well, of course you haven't, because you can't break a habit. It's not what we do. What we need to be looking at is how and what habit I want to make. And we can be more compassionate with ourselves then. Once we really understand that these habits we have are there to serve us, it's like, okay, what do I need right now? Man, I'm a bit stressed here. I'm stressed. I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. We get to really check in. We get to go there. We get to know ourselves. We get to learn who we are. We get to really love all of who we are, and not just the bits we think we like or we've been told we like. we really get to go there and know who we are. We get to really love ourselves. We get to fill our cup up. That's the point. And when we see that experience, that discomfort, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, when we see that discomfort is the key, it's the key to getting to where we want to get, we're good. We're golden. We're far more likely to get what we want, what we desire. But it ain't pretty, guys. None of this is pretty. To put a metaphor on it, sometimes I have to get in, I see my clients rolling around in pig shit and I have to get down there with them, right? It's like, yeah, I hear you. This sucks. This is hard. But within that, there is acknowledgement. There's acceptance. There's a piece of us. There's a knowing in us that's always okay, that knows we're always okay. Because this feeling, this experience we're having is just that. It's doing its job perfectly. It's just a feeling to be felt. It doesn't need anything to be added. It doesn't need anything to be taken away. And then we get to know ourselves, all of ourselves. And when we talked about goals as well, what then starts to happen is that we naturally want to set an inspired goal, because we're not coming from a place of I'm not enough anymore. Some water. I'm not coming from I'm not enough anymore. It's funny, I'm not used to doing this much talking, because in the coaching session I'm often really quiet. But we get to really show up, really be ourselves, all of ourselves, warts and all, is the only way that we can really, in my experience and my opinion, take or leave, guys, it's perfectly okay to disagree or not to see it this way. Like, I promise that's true. But for me, the only way that I have found freedom, abundance, love, compassion, passion in my life is knowing that that is what I am, and not needing it to be who I want to be. It's knowing it's who I am, and I only get to do that through acknowledging and accepting, forgiving, and fiercely loving myself. And I don't mean that, look at me, self. That's not what I'm talking about. That's the ego needing a pet every now and again, which is fine. We will do it. Although sometimes I check myself out and think, yep, definitely 37. Definitely not. That wasn't where it used to be. So yeah. Okay. How can I change Tracy? Okay. So guys, obviously there's been a lot of questions and stuff, so I am going to go through and I will come back if I miss anybody, because obviously this is right at the bottom. So how can I change myself? I don't ever commit to anything for more than a few weeks. Well, Tracy, the answer to that is to commit to something for a few more weeks, right? It's like, sure, if you're going to go into something with that mindset of I don't commit to anything for more than a few weeks, you set an instruction for yourself. So when that experience comes up and it's like, this is where I'd normally quit, you'll quit. So my invitation to you would be to go into it with more of an open mind. I'm going to go into this until that point I would normally quit. And then I'm going to choose to experience and be different in this. Who do I need to be differently in that experience to allow myself to continue? Or not, like, it's totally cool. Let's not get judgmental on what we do or don't do. But that would be my invitation to you, Tracy. Let me know if that's helpful. How do I choose, Lynn, how do I choose an inspired goal? Like just one. I want to do so many things. Do I determine which goal to start on first? Do you know what? With something like that, again, well, the first thing that came to my mind, Lynn, was I would write down all of what I want on a piece of paper, and then I'd just choose what jumped out at me. Because the thing is, and this might be a bit of a mind bender to hear, and it might not be true for some of you, which is totally okay. For me, in all the goals I set, in all goals, in all things, I'm looking for the same thing. And that's true acceptance and love for myself. That's what I'm looking for, whether it's money, whether it's my body, whether it's a relationship. I am looking to accept myself as whole. So if I'm honest, I would say, if you were sitting in front of me as my client, I would say, let's not waste any time on how you discover yourself. Just pick whatever jumps out of you. Let's get to work. That's what I would say to you. Hope that's helpful. And an inspired goal, spend some time with yourself, like sit in some quiet, find some stillness in your life, and you'll start to hear things. As we set my anxiety, yeah, absolutely, Shelley. Totally hear you on that. Not sure how I could be in a place to actually love myself. Yeah, that's the thing, is that if loving ourselves is a concept of something we need to have or get, then of course it's going to feel that way. I would encourage you to look at Holly or just hear this and see where it lands. That you don't need to love yourself, and if that's just words, is to look to where you are already loved. There is the reason I say that is because there is nothing, as far as I can see, the only thing that's true in this world, in this existence, in my experience, is what is right now. It's the only thing. I don't know anything outside of what is right now. I've only ever experienced this moment. So this moment then has no conditions. It's just unconditional love. It is what it is. It's what I am. If I go looking for it, then of course, it's like I say to people, if you want to be unhappy, go and look to be happy. If you want to be unhappy, go and find happiness. Surefire way to be unhappy. Because what we're saying is that some of this isn't okay. We need to really understand that there's okayness in all of it, and then we find who we are. So Holly, fantastic question. I really acknowledge you for asking that. All right, guys, I think that's it. All right, and it has gone on now. I'm very aware, guys. I said to Sally I'd be half an hour, and we're at 42 minutes. So I hope that's been helpful. From my heart to all of yours, if you take anything away from today, it's just the acknowledgement that you're here. The acknowledgement that you're here. You're willing to step into yourself and what you want, to put a stake in the ground for that. If we do that, it can heal the world. And I know that sounds really abstract, but if we're not coming from a place of lack and needing to change the world around us for this, then we go out into the world with a full cup, an overflowing cup. We're more accepting, more forgiving, more loving, we're more giving. I'll leave you with that. Guys, it's been such an absolute pleasure to watch what you're doing this week, to be here. If you have enjoyed this live and you have found this week challenging, yes, but helpful, transformational, join us in a tribe. Come and join us, spend some time with us all. The tribe isn't, it's not one person, it's a place for transformation. It's a place to bring all of you, every bit of you, to be acknowledged, to be loved, to be seen, to be transformed, to be challenged. It's an opportunity, a place for you to step into. Often with my clients, I'll say there's a third space that two people create. We have your space, my space, and then the space we create together, the third space. That's what the tribe is. You will not know a place that will give you love like it. The support, the camaraderie, the laughs, the talks about menopause and saggy boobs, which I watch and laugh because I can't relate, but I kind of can as well. And I find it really entertaining. But just my point there is just how honest and how much integrity you guys now have. So if it feels like something you want to be a part of, come and join us. We would love to have you there. If after this live you feel completely done, that's okay too. So I will put the link to Sally's tribe in the comments, guys. And I'll also put it in the title of the video. I couldn't do it on Zoom because I'm doing this from Zoom, so it wouldn't let me put it in the description. So I will add that now. It's been a pleasure, guys. Lots of love to every single one of you. And yeah, I will see you out there. Take care.